continue then to unpack what unfolded in the courts earlier on today. We're joined by Advocate Romeo Nthambeli. Advocate Nthambeleni, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. Not every day that you see an advocate walking out on his client in the manner that we said, in the manner that we did in that courtroom today. Interestingly, Advocate Teffo, in one of the interviews, talked about, a final straw, that this was the final straw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're quite correct, Kathy. And I think, it requires to be looked at in terms of, the unceremonious, departure of the legal representative of those accused person by the relevant authorities that they actually deal with that in terms of the legal profession.
It seems to have been a day where there were lots of questions on issues of procedure. As somebody who understands the law, how should have things unfolded?
Look, that's an important question. In this trial, there were glaring irregularities that we have discussed previously before. That those issues were supposed to be dealt with in a pre-trial conference, and then there must be certainty before the matter proceeds on trial, so that when the trial starts, the trial in earnest begins, and what is supposed to happen happens, which is a trial, because you've got accused persons that have been charged with a serious crime of a high-profile person, and this matter has been dragging for a number of years. And then if issues that are being addressed now, previously you were just discussing now with Cheryl of the issue of the conditions of the accused persons in prison. Those are issues that could have been addressed when you are dealing with the pre-trial proceedings, and then they are ironed out. And if ever there's a proper application that is brought in terms of the living conditions, that is addressed by a different forum and a different court altogether. And then now you find an issue of a letter being read, which does not take the matter any further. That's why the judge indicated that that could not be entertained by his court, because the court was seized with the trial to be able to actually finish the trial and deal with the matter. And unfortunately, that was not happening in this matter, Kathy. And I'm not surprised, by the way, by the withdrawal of Advocate Teffo, looking at the conduct of the trial and how this trial was being conducted from the word go.
So do you think that the issues of procedure that the court has to answer to that would have led to the frustration of somebody like Advocate Teffo?
You can't be frustrated by the process that you are supposed to be part of. In the nature of our duty, you have to be part of the pre-trial proceedings and raise the issues that you are unhappy about, so that all those issues will be addressed before we actually go into the trial itself, Kathy. Unfortunately, that is not supposed to be what was actually happening. And it actually happened, and then we saw those exchanges that were actually happening in court. And that was quite unfortunate, because it brings the entire profession into disrepute and the decorum of the court itself. And when you see a judge continuously interjecting in the proceedings, that is not supposed to be what is actually happening, because the judge is there to make sure that the trial proceeds and the evidence that the state has is presented, and to make a determination whether these people that are accused are indeed guilty or not guilty of the crime. And when you find the judge now dealing with matters of procedure and the court etiquette in the middle of proceedings, that is not supposed to be happening.
Mm. When we look back at just how all of these issues have been handled, and the allegation made by Advocate Teffo that he is withdrawing from this case due to harassment by the state and harassment by the court. Now, these are very serious allegations. I doubt the court would want these just simply left hanging.
Absolutely, you're quite correct. The court will not allow that that to be left hanging. They need to be addressed, and then he must actually indicate what sort of harassment is he actually talking about, and report to the necessary authorities the form of harassment that he is actually talking about. Fortunately enough, Kathy, we were all able to see the proceedings of the trial and how the trial was being conducted, and you cannot just impugn on the dignity of the court without actually having substantial allegations of saying why you are saying that the court was not listening to what you were actually saying. So there must be a basis of bringing that sort of an allegation against actually a judge and the prosecutor, so that at least these allegations can be looked at.
It sounds to me like how things have unfolded in this case could well be a textbook example of how things should not go.
Absolutely, Kathy, you are right. That is not how to actually run a trial 101. You are quite correct. That is not the way things are supposed to be conducted, and that is not the way of actually running a trial. And I can confirm that is the correct position, and it's not supposed to have happened the way it happened.
And the big question, of course, is what happens to this case. You still have the Meyiwa family that is looking for answers, the accused that deserve legal representation, and what the impact of that then will be on this case.
Yeah, the judge has indicated that there's going to be a postponement, and when there's a postponement, the accused persons are going to get a legal representative. We expect that things will be better, and the trial will be handled much more better, and then they will be given an opportunity to go through the papers and then prepare with their clients and consult, so that the real trial can proceed to get to finality of who is accused or who is guilty and who is not guilty in this matter.
Advocate Romeo Nthambeli, let's leave it there for tonight.